East Tennessee holds a special place in video game history. The very first home console, the Magnavox Odyssey, was manufactured in Jefferson City. It was a primitive system, only able to conjure a few blips on the screen, and used colored television overlays in lieu of actual graphics. But as video game technology evolved, so too did the fear of the influence it had on the youth that played them.
The United States Surgeon General C. Everett Koop says American youngsters are being bombarded with violence, both on TV and in video game rooms across the country. Koop says it's time something is done about it. Koop says most of the video game themes are to destroy the enemy. Some of the games do carry names which denote violence, like Wizard of War, Missile Command.
Still, even at the beginning, there were detractors to the sentiment that video games could cause real-world violence.
Promotes anger or anything like that? No, I say not. Not me, at least. We get angry and we come out and play some games and go home more rested than when we came out.
By the early 1990s, congressional hearings were being held about the amount of violence in video games. Chief among them was Mortal Kombat.
For a long time, Mortal Kombat was played only in arcades. But now Sega Genesis and Nintendo have produced a home version of the game.
In this, you're actually, through a video game, putting an end to someone's life. And I think that may be taking it just a little too far.
The hearings led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, which, like movies, applied a rating to a video game to distinguish which ages they deemed appropriate to play them. By 2003, the sixth generation of video game consoles was anchored by the Nintendo GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. And two teens emulating what they saw in one of these games rocked a small East Tennessee town to its core.
This is something that does not usually happen in this area, and hopefully never will again.
Wednesday, June 25th, 2003, between 7:30 and 8 p.m., as many as 25 shots rang out towards Interstate 40 near mile marker 437 in Newport, Tennessee. 19-year-old Kim Beatty of Virginia was struck and injured. In another vehicle, 45-year-old nurse Aaron Hamill was struck in the head. He just moved to the area a few weeks prior. His pickup truck crossed the median before hitting the guardrail and sliding another 50 feet. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation later stated Hamill died from the gunshot wound.
Well, it's a terrible crime. You have two people who were just traveling along the interstate, and now they're, one of them's dead. You got one that's seriously injured. It's a very serious situation.
Authorities said the shots likely came from a field or a wooded area near the Smoky Mountain Country Club. 2 days later, the shooters were identified as 15-year-old William Buckner and his 13-year-old stepbrother Joshua.
I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there right now who are relieved.
After a day in court, the teens were taken into state custody, where they both had psychological evaluations and faced reckless homicide and aggravated assault charges. But since they were both under the age of 16, they could not be tried as adults. Only charges of first or second-degree murder could bump the case to adult court, but the DA's office didn't think the case warranted those charges.
It falls in between. It was not intentional as far as the killings were concerned. Obviously, if it was, it would be something more than reckless homicide. But it wasn't an accident by the same, as far as the state's concerned.
If convicted, William and Joshua could only be held in state custody until they turned 19. At a bond hearing the following month, bail was set at $100,000 for each of the teens. Payment was swiftly made after the ruling. As part of the agreement, William and Joshua had to always be in adult care. No weapons were allowed in the home, and the two were not allowed to play an unnamed video game.
They both express remorse and sadness. Both say prayers for the families that were affected directly with the results of this tragedy. They are scared. They understand what's going on, but they're extremely scared.
After the hearing, a reckless endangerment charge was added because Hamill's cousin, Denise Deneau, was in the car at the time Hamill was shot. A trial date was set for August 28th. It was during the trial that the plan for the shootings unfolded. Joshua took two .22 caliber rifles from his home and hid them in the woods about a week prior to the shooting. William was the only one who likely fired the shots that struck Beatty and Hamill. They said their plan was to just shoot the beds of tractor-trailer trucks as they drove by. According to D.A. Schmutzer, the boys got the idea from the game Grand Theft Auto and fired the guns out of boredom. Although 2 months had passed since the shootings, the wounds were still fresh for victim Kim Beatty.
I'm terrified to go out anywhere or do anything. It's kind of put a stop on everything.
At the trial, both teens pleaded guilty to the crimes and were sentenced to return to state custody for an indeterminate amount of time. They could stay until they turned 19 or could get out early for good behavior.
I don't believe these boys should have the option of getting out early. I don't believe they should be able to go home until they're each 19. Aaron can never come home again.
Both of the teens cried throughout this morning's testimony, but neither spoke publicly, instead sharing their remorse through letters to the victims.
The Buckner's attorney read the letters in court. William Buckner wrote, "I will always hate myself for what I did." Joshua Buckner told the victims, "I did not mean to hurt anyone," while Hamill's mother chose to forgive the teens.
That's what God does, and He wants us to do, and I want to do that.
His cousin felt forgiveness was hard to find.
I can't, and I'm sorry, but I can't forgive the kids. They did this. I'm walking around with a hole in my heart, as well as hundreds of other people that are friends and loved Aaron.
In October, Hamill's parents, Deneau and Beatty, filed a $246 million lawsuit. It was against Sony Computer Entertainment of America and Rockstar Games, claiming the game trains copycat violence. They also sued Walmart for selling the game, as well as the teens' parents. The plaintiffs went on to claim the makers of the game knew or should have known copycat violence would be caused by Grand Theft Auto 3. The following month, Rockstar Inc., the makers of Grand Theft Auto 3, claimed free speech protection, asking the judge to dismiss the case. Local game shop employees and customers agreed.
It's obviously the kids and their own actions, so it's a fail-safe option where you got to blame something, and apparently you got to blame a video game now.
You know, I used to play games with cartoon characters like DuckTales and stuff like that on the old Nintendo, and now I'm playing these, games with more guns and blood in it. Just about everybody I know has played this game, and I don't know any, murderers or overly violent people.
The lawsuit filed by the Hamill family was eventually voluntarily dropped.
There's nothing more precious than our children, and certainly we need to be very proactive in protecting them.
And in 2006, Tennessee State Senator Tommy Kilby proposed legislation to make it a crime for Tennessee stores to sell or rent extremely violent video games. The bill was withdrawn 2 months later. In 2008, Cocke County Juvenile Court Judge John Bell said William Buckner aged out of the system and was released when he was 19. Joshua was 17 at the time and remained in custody.